and welcome to another episode of DIOTALK. I'm Dio. Let's talk. My guest of the evening is an author, speaker, motivation speaker, teacher, professor, entrepreneur, and the list can go on and on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Anne Kochut. Welcome to the show.
Great to see you. Thank you.
Likewise. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you.
So you're an author. You have this amazing book called The Power versus Perception.
There you go.
Of self-empowerment for women. What motivated you? What inspired you to write such an amazing book?
Well, the way it turned out was that I had developed this leadership model that I found addressed many of the characteristics that leaders in business leaders, whether they're corporate business leaders or whether they're independent business owners and entrepreneurs, these characteristics were useful and critical towards their success. And at the time, I had been speaking at numerous women's business groups. And long story short, the way it came about, if you want to hear the story, is I think you already know that I am a 2-time breast cancer survivor.
Yes.
The first time I had it, I was diagnosed on 9/11. So we're coming up on the, 22-year anniversary of that. And the second time I was diagnosed was in January of 2012. And the first time I had surgery and chemotherapy and radiation, and I was fine for all those years. And then the second time I had more radical surgery and treatment. I had 6 operations in a 2-year period. But in 2012, when I had just completed my treatment, I was diagnosed in January. I went through all the surgeries and the diagnoses and everything, and the treatment finished up the end of May. In June, I was at a networking event in Hackensack, New Jersey, this huge event. I was asked to be a speaker there, and I ran into a woman who I hadn't seen in 11 years. She had been a student of mine when I was teaching a course at Fairleigh Dickinson University. Hadn't seen her in years, and this is where it gets a little bit kind of not creepy, but a little bit really interesting, because I was sitting at a table with a lot of people in this large conference room, and I looked on the floor and there was a business card, and I thought the gentleman sitting next to me had dropped the business card. I picked it up and I looked at it, and I recognized the name on the business card as a woman who had been a student in my class 11 years earlier at Fairleigh Dickinson University. So I got up, I went over to her, and I said, excuse me, are you the same so-and-so who was my student at Fairleigh Dickinson University back spring semester 2001? And she looks at me and her face just lights up. She jumps out of her chair. She throws her arms around me and she's jumping up and down saying, Professor, I've been trying to find you. You were my inspiration. You taught me about the 7 habits of highly effective people. And I'm taking the same information that you taught me and I'm using it in my work, and I go into prisons and I work with gangbangers, and I'm teaching them all of this stuff that you taught me. And she was going on to show me the books that she's written, and she had her own little podcast like you do. And long story short, we made arrangements to get together. Followed up, she came to my house, and you can see this is my office around me. This is not a backdrop. This is my real office. And Oh, she came and we were talking. And at the time, when I was first diagnosed with the cancer that year, I was looking for another job. I had been displaced as a result of the financial crisis of 2008. I had been displaced when my job was moved to another state
Wow.
in 2010. And I was looking for a job, and I had gone on lots and lots of interviews, and I had this really profound experience when I was diagnosed with the cancer, where I realized that I really didn't want to work for someone else. I wanted to be independent. I had I had experienced my own business years earlier, and I really did like it. And the main reason I even went back into the workplace was because one of my business clients hired me full time. Once I
Oh,
was,
wow.
they offered me a job. I worked for them. They were my client for a year, and then they offered me a job. So I wasn't actually looking for a job. And and what I realized as a result of this introspection of like, who am I? What am I about? What is it that I really want to do? And what I really realized was that I wanted to be an independent business owner. I always wanted to be an author and a motivational speaker and inspire people to live their dreams and meet their goals and just be unstoppable in achieving their goals. And I wasn't looking to be an adjunct professor. I never applied for the job. People came up to me from colleges and said, "Would
Wow.
you like to teach at our college?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. I need to do something." And that's how I wound up teaching at all these different colleges. And so this when I was at this particular event, when I ran into my former student, I was still struggling with that. I was like, on one hand, I like the idea of having a steady paycheck. There's this certain amount of security around
Hmm.
knowing that you're going
Yes.
to get X number of dollars every payday, whether it's every week, every 2 weeks, every month, whenever, whatever it is. There's something to be said for that, but it is so limiting when you really think about the possibilities of being
Correct.
out
Yes.
there on your own. So at that particular point in time, I was like, do I want to do this? And do I want to do that? Because again, I was out of work, and I went through this whole cancer is a pretty debilitating
Yeah.
illness.
Yeah.
People die from it.
Yes. Yes.
And so that was where I was at that particular event, and it was a great event. And then this woman, she came to my office, and I'm telling her the story how I'm not really sure what I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah.
Do I want to go back into the workplace and get a job, or do I want to go with the entrepreneur stuff? And this woman looks at me, never forget it. And she said to me, "Marianne, the reason that God isn't opening the door for you to find a job is because He wants you writing books and speaking and inspiring people. And I
Yes.
want you to be the keynote speaker at my women's entrepreneurial conference that I'm doing next month." This was July of 2012. Next month was August of 2012, when she was having this huge women's entrepreneurial conference. And I'm like, "Well, I'd love to be a speaker, but I don't know what you want me to talk about." And she says, "Well, just talk about what you're telling me." And I said, "Well, I do have this little leadership model that I developed. It's a little PowerPoint presentation." And I said, "I'll show it to you." So I opened up my computer and I showed her my model, and I showed her my PowerPoint presentation. I said, "I could adapt this to the kinds of issues that women face in the workplace and in the business world. It'd be very easy for me to do, and I'd love to do it. Yeah, I could do that, and I could talk about that." And she was like, "Great, that's what I want you to do. That's what you should do." So I put together this little PowerPoint presentation, And then I go to be the speaker at this huge, and it was this huge conference at this big conference. I forget where it was. I know it was in Newark, but it was this huge place. And all these women entrepreneurs were there, and they had tables set up with their products on it. I mean, I looked out from where I was standing at the front of the room, and I looked out and I just saw this sea of people. It seemed endless. And I started talking about the characteristics of self-empowerment for women. And because I adapted the model, and this, I'm
Yes.
just looking up, this is what it looks like. You might remember you saw
Yes.
something like this when we were in class together. And because it's a very adaptable model, it's transformational. It fits into all different types of situations, both at the personal level, the interpersonal level with our relationships, the managerial level in working with people, and the organizational level that addresses business strategy and
Correct.
all.
Yes.
So I'm talking about this, and I just off the cuff, it wasn't on my prepared script. Just off the cuff, I said, one of these days I'm going to write a book about this. And one of the women in the room, I don't know who, yelled out, "When's your book going to be done?" And I was just caught, and I said, "It'll be done by the end of the year."
Wow.
Now, that was, I forget the exact day in August, but I will tell you that the first draft of this book was completed on December 31st, 2012.
Wow.
And then most of 2013 was spent with the editing and going through the whole publishing
Correct. Yeah.
process, so that when I was invited back to that same women's entrepreneurial conference the following year, I had the first copy of the publisher's cut. I didn't even have copies to sell. I just had the first copy of it. And that was really how my business, Champions for Success, got
Yes.
started.
Yes.
What I do in my business is I work with business people and corporate leaders, so I can work with independent business owners and entrepreneurs all the way up to corporate leadership. And I offer individualized coaching where I work with people to help them get clear on what are their goals and their objectives, what is their vision for their career, their business, their life. So, because it all
Correct.
fits together. It all
Yes.
fits
Yes.
together. So I do, that's one of the things that I do when I work with people on an individual basis for leadership coaching, I call it, or coaching for self-empowerment. I apply this model to it. And then I have the curriculum for self-empowerment, which are the courses that I offer to business people, so that if someone has a company and they want to train their employees, I come in and I work with their employees and I train them on things such as interpersonal communication skills, business writing, public speaking, which you know all about
Yes.
that,
Yeah.
public speaking, time management, and then managing change, which is something that's really important.
Yes. Yes.
And because it's all around the kinds of skills that we need in order to be successful. And then on the interpersonal side, I have things like the Myers-Briggs personality type indicator, interpersonal communication skills, listening skills, and I address things like assertive communications, because what happens to us a lot of times when we're in a situation, something happens and we react to it. And
Correct.
typically,
Yes.
when we react negatively. So, what we have to learn to do is pause, so that we're still going to have stuff happen. We're still going to feel that reaction, but we can pause and stop and then think to ourselves, is this the best reaction to this? So that I can learn the skills that I need in in order to respond appropriately instead of reacting inappropriately. So
Correct.
that's in a nutshell a little bit
It's,
what I do.
helping to strategize how to manage oneself and these scenarios.
Exactly. And
Was it
go ahead.
was it when you started writing this book, was it something that came second nature to write these rules, or was something that you have experienced just in your journey working and creating your essential platform?
Before I got into business for myself, I was a corporate trainer for AT&T.
Wow.
And what I did was I traveled all over the country and I taught these kinds of skills to the employees of the company. One of the things that I did, one of the things that was very useful to me was Dr. Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It was written in the late 80s, and it's still considered one of the top leadership books of all times. Well, one of the things that I was doing was I was teaching for about 10 years, the last 10 years of my career with AT&T. I was teaching these skills to leaders within the organization, and it had a very profound impact on me. And what happened was I saw that, well, I took it and I expanded upon it so that it had more of, um, Dr. Covey has a great model. His 7 habits model is just the 7 habits. And then he has other models that he also works with, which have to do with his change management model, his time management model, and all of that. And what I did was I kind of brought a lot of those things in together so that my model of the hourglass, in which the 10 characteristics of self-empowerment are in, it encompasses all of those things. So, for example, he talks about character and values, but it's not part of his 7 habits model. I kind of took it to another level where I have character and values, managing change, and continuous skill building as a part of the model itself. So it's all encompassed in one. So
you were able to define it, give it more definition and more.
Yeah. So I created my own model. I kind of used his as a springboard to create my own. So there's some similarities, but I believe that my model is more geared more towards the 21st century.
Yes.
In that it's more for today. And it's more resilient. So that's how that came about. Because I see it, and a lot of the things that I saw happening in the corporate world 30 years ago is still happening today. Still going on, because most of the people that I trained, they've retired and moved on, and we have a whole new, and as they say, everything changes and everything remains the same. We do the same thing over and over. So we have to learn. We have to learn these new skills, and they're not new skills. They're just, we have to learn these skills because that's where our success is going to lie. We can't be the kind of leader that says it's my way or the highway.
Correct. Yes.
We have to be the kind of leader who is who empowers their people, the type of leader that isn't afraid to roll up their sleeves and get in the trenches with their people. And especially for business owners and entrepreneurs, you might have a small staff, and people will say, you can't get good help these days. People don't want to work anymore. And you might have a high turnover. You might fire people because they're not doing the things the way you want them to do. But what you're doing when you do that, when you let someone go, is you invested in that person. You made an investment of your time training that person to know your business so that if you're not there, they know what your business is. Now, if
Yes.
you fire that person, maybe they made a mistake, maybe they had a bad day. We're all human. We all make mistakes. And I'm not talking about a situation where there's dishonesty where you can't trust the person, but I'm talking about someone makes an honest mistake and you get mad at them and you fire them. It's over. They're gone. Well, you invested in that person. Now they're gone. They're going to be looking for another job. So what do? They go work for your competitor, and you trained them. You invested in them. So my suggestion to especially to independent entrepreneurs and business owners is that you need to learn to invest in your people, find out what find out what their passion is, find out what motivates them. And then they're going to want to work for you. If they People will work for a good leader if they know that person cares about them. People want to know that their boss, their manager cares about them. When people leave jobs, it's not usually about the work that they're doing. I'm trying to push my hair on my eyes here. It's not usually about the work that they're doing. It's usually because of the boss. It's
Yeah.
usually because the boss is a friend of mine wrote a book years ago, Never Work for a Jerk. But the truth of the matter is, sometimes we have to learn to keep our ego in check. That just because I'm the boss, just because it's my business, I can't do it all on my own. I need these people that I have trained to work when I'm not there. I can't be there 24/7. I can't be there all the time. I have to be doing things like meeting with suppliers, vendors, potential clients, doing my advertising strategy, whatever it is that I need to do as a leader. And a big part of that is networking and building the relationships with people. And I can't do that if I can't trust the people that I have trained on my team to take care of the team when I'm not there.
Correct.
And
100%.
and I say too that you have to know that you can trust them. You have to know that it's not so much what they do when you're there, it's when you're not there what
Yeah.
goes on.
Yeah.
But you can pretty much tell. And I don't go in for the whole cameras and the surveillance. I hear about that happening in so many places, and that kind of, I think that creeps me out, quite frankly. If I can't trust my people to do the job that I have to have surveillance cameras watching them. I would hope that I wouldn't need to do that. I would rather know. And what's going to make someone? Are you going to give them some sort of skin in the game? What's the rewards for them?
Hmm.
And a lot of companies have things like the big companies, they have things like profit sharing and all of that. But as an independent entrepreneur, sometimes it might be worth your while if you've got a good person that's going to be with you for, say, 20 years. Well,
Yeah,
what do you
correct.
do to help make them make them part of the team? And
I think it's just, as the culture has changed and evolved, because everything you're saying, it's valid. But I think what's happening in the culture nowadays is that everybody's so fascinated with give me money, but they don't have the experience.
mhm.
Give me money, but they don't know how this functions. So now I'm willing to train you and teach you, but you're willing to overcharge for services that you don't know.
Mhm.
So value versus value is not equal.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why but you have to let people see
Hmm.
the light at the end of the tunnel so that there's those rewards. And that goes too. Not everybody's motivated by the same thing.
Yes,
Not
correct.
everybody is motivated by money. Some people are motivated more by having more work flexibility, and depending on the nature of the job, the ability to work from home. I think one of the things that's really great right now is a lot of the virtual assistants that are out there.
Yes,
You
yes.
don't have to hire an administrative assistant to sit at a desk at your location. You can hire someone to do your administrative work virtually.
Hmm.
And a lot of the virtual work, I think that's what shows what motivation is. If someone is motivated to produce and they're able to show, okay, if you are a client facing type of an organization, you have a store where people are coming in the door, yes, you've got to be there. But if you have the type of service where it's done either online or some type of supply chain or uh, fulfillment type of center,
Yes.
there's things that you do not have to physically be on site. And just because someone is on the location doesn't mean they're producing.
Yes,
It
correct.
doesn't mean they're producing. People will figure out ways to work around your system if you don't make it worth their while. So if you make it seem like you're watching them all the time or you don't trust them, then they're going to figure out ways to work around it. And but if they know that you care about them and you trust them, then they're going to go the extra mile for you.
Yeah,
That's
I
just
mean, either way, it's always going to be a gamble because it
Mhm.
gets, it could start out good, then the relationship crumbles, or it could start out bad and then the relationship flourishes. So either way, it's just you have to you can't do it alone.
No. And that's what I help people do. Typically, a lot of the coaching that I do winds up working with managers, helping them to deal with people problems. That they've got this person that they've been working with for a long time, and the person has problems, and it's a lot of it is a lot of time is spent on the interpersonal people problems. How do
Mm.
we deal with this? In a big company, in a big corporation or something, you get HR involved, and there's all kinds of processes. However, you have certain criteria even as an independent entrepreneur, and managing people. If you have a small team, and even if you're a one person organization, you still have to manage relationships. You have relationships with your clients, you have relationships with your suppliers, you have relationships with other people in your field. And I always tell people it's important to build your network, get involved in, say, if you're involved with the Chamber of Commerce,
Yes.
or all the different chambers, so that you're involved, or if there's a business organization in your community. That there, I know in my town they have the Business Owners Association, and there's different networking groups for different fields. Like, for example, I fall in the field of human resources, so there's the Society for Human Resource Management. Then, because my field is in the area of training and the development, there's the Association for Talent Development. But there's all these different networks that are professional. There's professional engineering organizations or accounting organizations, but you want to get involved in the businesses in your community. Even things like Toastmasters International, where you get to work with other people and know other people, so people know what you do, they know your business. It's another way of getting your information out there, so you can draw upon those relationships. And then, of course, you've got your social media, you've got your LinkedIn and
Yeah.
all of those, but it's not the same as being face to face. Networking face to face is the best.
Yeah, I
Business
think
is another.
I can agree to that. I can agree to that
Yeah.
100%. Um, I want to ask you this question. Uh, let me so it's all about how to word it, right? Because it's a very important question. This defines how will your message impact uh this generation, the future generation, and whoever hears this, right? So I want to ask, what drove you to not give up? Because in 2011 you diagnosed and you fought your way. You got diagnosed again in a time in where um there was a recession. Everybody lost. Nobody, lost your job, or you left your job and relocated, but you still found a way to will yourself from out of, as people would say, that hole, and continue fight. Wrote a book and invented and started a new career. Met extraordinary people throughout the way. Like, what drove you so much to not give up? And I asked because I grew up in Puerto Rico, right? Latin island, and where I grew up with my grandparents. I've spoken with a lot of individuals that passed away due to cancer. Young, old, very young. And it wasn't that will to fight. They were just accepted for things where we were. And let's say I grew up going to a lot of funerals, right? And it's always that person, and where like they have that, or they're diagnosed, but some way or form they don't stop fighting. What was that for you?
Well, it starts with my faith. I have to give all the glory to God on that one.
Amen to that.
And I just have a clear sense of vision as to who I am.
Mm,
And I am not my job, but I always would say that I am an advocate for people, and I help people and inspire people to become unstoppable and living their dreams.
mm,
And that is who I am. That is what I am. And I live out of that. Yeah, I have bad days, but it's just a bad day.
mhm,
And I don't know, I probably told you this story a long time ago, but when I was told for the second time that I was going to have chemotherapy, it was a beautiful sunny day in March, and I was walking out of the hospital to the parking lot, and I felt one tear kind of go down the side of my face, and I said to myself, okay, you felt sorry for yourself for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. That's long enough. Now let's keep focusing on what we got to do to fight this. And
mm,
that's what I do. I don't allow myself to spend my time and my energy worrying about things that I can't do anything about.
mm,
I focus on the things that I can do something about. And if I'm looking at something and I ask myself the question, okay, I have this problem right now. Is there anything I can do about it right now, this minute? If the answer is yes, I do it. If the answer is no, you can't do anything about this, it's out of your control, then I have to accept it and move on and find something that I can do something about. Because if I'm spending my time and my energy on something that I have no control over, then I'm putting myself in the role of a victim.
mm,
And I there's no empowerment when I put myself in the role of a victim. Bad things do happen to people.
yes.
And I don't blame people for things that happen to them. But what are we doing right now to get past this? What can we do? I can either stay stuck in it, or I can do something about it. And that's what I think. That's I think that's what contributes to my success.
And this is why you're successful. See that that is what we need more of. I sit down and I speak to enormous amount of people, and that right there that you mentioned, that mindset, that not feeling like a victim, and if you do feel 5 minutes, brush it off, keep moving. That's the mentality that we're lacking on especially with entrepreneurs, because it's going to take you 3 to 5 years to actually see some type of profit in your
Hmm.
business. Especially like I know for a fact, pandemic hit, everyone started doing their own business. There was 20 million people doing printing shirts. There were 20 million people who became realtors. Like, it's a constantly evolution, but it's how long you last, and you cannot have that mindset and where you victimize yourself, that now you're slowly fading away backwards rather forward.
Exactly. I mean, I had a really great job working in the financial services industry. The financial crisis that happened in 2008 was not my fault. I had nothing to do with that. But as a result of that, the organization that I worked for was severely impacted by that. They had to change, and the function that I was performing was moved to another state. I was out of a job.
Yeah.
Now, that was not my fault. It wasn't because of anything that I did. I didn't do anything wrong. It was a result of something that occurred out of my control. And I couldn't. So, what I had to do is I had to make the best of it. And I was looking for another job, but everybody was looking for another job.
Yeah.
The job market was saturated at the time. And out of that, then I got cancer. It's like, oh boy, we got cancer. And then it was like, no, that was the opportunity to really get honest with myself and look at what was I trying to do. I was trying to recreate my comfort zone, and my comfort zone can keep me stuck because I'm just really comfortable because I just wanted to have that steady paycheck. But when you look at what that steady paycheck robs you of, is the possibilities, endless possibilities of opportunity of what's possible. And that's having an entrepreneurial mindset. It's just a difference in mindset. And it's not that there's anything wrong with someone who says, I don't want to be an independent business owner. I just want a job where I go in, I work, I collect my paycheck, I go home at 5 o'clock. Nothing wrong with that. It just didn't work for me. And I
Right.
was trying to fit myself into that. And I realized this isn't me. I need to be able to express myself. And I don't do well with people telling me what to do because I'm an idea person. I like to come up with new ways of doing things. I don't want someone saying to me, well, this is the way we always did it. This is the way we're always going to do it. Because I don't want to be stuck. I get bored. I want to move on. I want to try new things. I don't like to do the same thing over and over and over again. That's one of the reasons why I love being in when I loved teaching classes all over the country, because I had a different work group every week, different
Yes.
people, and I moved around. I was in different places, and that's one of the things that I just happen to like.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, I started this just because I took one of your tests, the test you gave in the class. I can't
Mm-hmm.
remember the name. And
Myers Briggs.
yes, and I remember that day was just like me and like three other individuals that were basically like, we're not people that connect with other people. We're very, what is that word?
Introverted.
Introverted, correct. And in order for me, I'm a person, I want to be adventurous. I want to do a lot of things, right? But
Right.
also I have a 6-year-old son who's autistic, who
Oh,
so it gets, I have to, if I'm outside, I got to be attentive, I got to explore with him, I got to bring him that life. So I decided to, pandemic hit, all right, I'm a small business. Let's talk to other business entrepreneurs that trying to do something,
Hmm.
but also helping me get out of my comfort zone. Because I like to explore, but I'm also like I could care less if I'm with people. I'm okay being alone. It's comfort,
Right.
and I just wanted to get out there and see what's out there and speak to people, hear their stories. So uh, one can say that you were one of the reasons that inspired me to do this.
Oh, well, thank
So
you.
everything comes full circle.
Yeah, I guess it does. I guess it does. I know even for myself, one of the things that even after, when I told you I look at myself, I understand who I am. I have a sense
Hmm.
of vision and mission and who I am in being an advocate for people and helping people to inspire them to live their dreams and be unstoppable in meeting their goals. I train people, and even when I lost my job, I continued to teach people. I went to the Department of Labor here in the state of New Jersey, and I taught workshops to other people who were looking for jobs as a volunteer because it
Wow.
didn't matter that I wasn't getting paid for it. It's what I do, it's who I am. And that kept me going. It doesn't matter. I started doing that because that's what I do. That's who I am.
Yes.
I work with people. I help people. We did a lot of at the time there were a lot of people out of work, and there were workshops that we did, and what came out of that was I wound up actually getting real work from it, because I got in touch with the people who ran the training facility at the state of New Jersey, and I started doing workshops for them that I did get paid for. So you never know when you
Yes.
can help
Yes.
someone, even if you're having a tough time. Volunteer, help somebody else, help do something. Keep yourself busy. Don't sit in front of the TV eating ice
Correct.
cream,
Yes.
watching Netflix.
You go to these events and trainings. Do you find yourself reoccurring, like having the same issue when you do these trainings? Is there one thing in particular that there's like we need help training in this aspect? This is where we're lacking of.
Time management is a big one.
Mm, preach.
Time management, and a lot of it is also communication skills. Another one that comes up a lot is email etiquette because
You'll be
but
surprised, right?
yeah, but mostly your basic communication skills. People need communication skills, self management, and time management. People are always saying there's not enough time in the day. There's not enough time in the day. Um, but
No,
yeah,
yeah. That
communication skills.
I manage a staff. I worked for Verizon. I manage a staff of over, I want to say 70 to 100 uh
Oh wow,
employees. Yeah,
yeah, that's a lot of people.
but it was the facility, so cleaners majority, daytime and nighttime. And I had this gentleman named he was something. We had something in the building, and I always had to have these meetings with him, and where he would try to estimate the time what it take to clean a whole floor. So
Hmm.
if you go to Baskin Ridge, where it's like
I know
what
exactly where it is.
exactly. So if you go there, one
The old
floor,
AT&T building. I used to work.
yes, yes, yes. And how much does it take them to clean a table? Now it's different. Now everything is it's they took out cubicles, they everything is it's table and what you lift and pull down. And he wanted an estimation. Well, if it takes them 15 seconds or something to clean this table, it should take them half an hour to finish this floor.
What they're trying to do is they're
Yeah,
trying to establish performance standards.
correct. So I time management is something that I know corporation and any company is very important in having.
Right, right. And
So
another thing that
yeah,
comes up all the time is public speaking.
yes. Imagine trying to
Yeah.
do that in two different language.
Oh boy.
I had a, I working at Verizon, I had to go uh in the daytime, speak with my own employees in Spanish, but
Right.
also educate actual Verizon employees how to keep their area clean.
Mm,
So it's basically telling grown people to keep their stuff clean. Then
wow.
later that night, have a staff of 50 to 60, depending on seasons, because winter less, summer more. And now saying everything I said now in Spanish.
Oh, wow.
So
Interesting.
it was really a fun time for me.
Mm.
So are you still doing public speaking right now?
Oh, yeah. I have two public speaking classes right now. One started today, one started last week.
What is one of your pet peeves that you dislike and you always need to have?
In when I'm hearing a
Performing.
speaker
No,
perform. Oh,
hearing a speaker and performing.
okay. The one thing that drives me crazy is when people are always saying, you know, you know, you know.
I say that
And
a lot.
we all do, but sometimes people just don't realize that that's mainly my pet peeve. And we all do it.
Yes.
We all do it. Sometimes when I'm looking at some of the workshops that I record and I go through and I edit them, and I'm like, I teach that stuff, yet I keep on doing it. But you don't realize you're doing it when you're speaking impromptu.
Got it. What are some things that a good speaker should have when giving a either a speech, a motivation speech, or just informative speech?
You should always know your purpose.
Mm,
What is it that you want to communicate to your people, to your audience? And just be aware if you have a sense of nervousness, that nervousness is normal, and to not fight it, but learn how to target it so that it because what it is energy, and you can use that. The old saying is get your ducks in a row, or those butterflies that
mhm.
you get in your stomach, you can train to fly in formation. They won't go away, but you can use that energy.
Got it. What about, like, for me, I can't, if I'm giving a speech or I'm talking to a certain amount of people, I cannot read and read and perform my speech. So
No, you don't read.
I I uh I generally just like or I can't I don't have the skill of memorizing it either. So I just go out fly it off and
Yeah, you don't want to memorize your speech. What you want to do, if you need something, you could put a couple of bullet points on, say, an index card or something, but you just glance at those bullet points and you practice. You know what you're going to say, you know your material, so you just allow yourself to speak naturally and it comes out. And typically, that's when we do our best,
got it.
when
Got
we're being ourselves.
it. Okay. So what's next? So do you have any books in development? I definitely would like to, just telling your amazing journey. I think that would be a great book.
Okay, I'm currently writing a second book entitled Power Leadership, because even though my first book was geared towards women, the men that read it got back to me and said, Marianne, that's not just for women, that's really for everybody. I said, yeah, I agree. Um, so Power Leadership is specifically for everyone. I recently, my latest project is, as I mentioned before, I know a lot of people have challenges with time management, and oftentimes because they're challenged with time management, they really can't get away from their job to take a course on
Yeah.
time management. So one of the things that I learned through the pandemic was that it was important for me to meet my clients where they are. So I made a video course. It's approximately 3 hours of training. I have a little YouTube video, it's about 2.5 minutes long. that talks about, it's called Finding the 25th Hour, The Power and Secrets of Time Management. And the way it works is people will go on my website, and they can actually, it's a 1 month rental that they can rent. I think it's $119 for a month, and they can download. I can find it here. I don't know. I had it here somewhere. They can download a workbook. I thought I had it here, but I guess I don't. Oh wait, here it is. There's a workbook that they can download, and what'll happen is you go on. It's a video, and then you'll be following the video. Then you'll be told, okay, stop the video, turn to page such and such in the workbook, do this activity, and when you're done, turn the video back on. So it's the same as being in class with me, except it's on video. So you take it at your own pace. You can stop it. You have it for a month, and you can, it's like taking a full professional time management course. So that's the newest project that I've worked on. I still have this book available for people who are interested in it. And then I think right now I've been doing a lot of coaching. A lot of business people and corporate people have been hiring me as their coach to help them with some of the challenges that they're experiencing. And having a coach is something that is very useful, because what happens a lot of times is we'll think to ourselves, yeah, I really want to do this. I'm going to do this. Someday I'm going to do this. But someday never comes. When you have a coach, you tell your coach, okay, next week I'm going to do this. So now you're forced to do it, because you're going to be meeting with me next week, and I'm going to say, okay, what did you do? You didn't do that. What stopped you from doing that? Well, okay, so now we're going to work on this week so that we're not going to have this stop us, because what's going to happen when this comes up? And therefore you're held accountable. So if you're really, really serious about attaining the goals that you want to attain, that's when you bring me in as a coach. And I work with you. I put together a customized program that is based on the 10 characteristics of self-empowerment. And if the problem is with your time management, if the problem is people skills, people management, whatever it might be, we look at what it is, what's stopping you from attaining those things. So the professional leadership coaching is very valuable. And I've been pretty successful at that lately. And it works out pretty well, especially now that we have Zoom. If people want to, they can record the coaching session. So just in case they forgot something, they can go back and they can review it. Some people want to record it, some people don't. But we meet on Zoom. We can meet face to face if we have to. And it's very, very useful. And then I work with companies where they bring me in to teach some of these courses that I offer. They're all on my website. My website is www.championsforsuccess.com. And I don't know if can I share my screen? I can show you.
Yes.
All right. This is my Google page. Here I am on Google. And I have a little blog here with certain things here. Then, so this is where I am on Google. You can see me. And then now this is my website here, championsforsuccess.com. And there's helping extraordinary leaders achieve extraordinary results through coaching, consulting, and business interventions. Here's the book. You can purchase it directly from the website, or you can go, of course, to Amazon. And then this just tells a little bit about me and my bio. And then this is the curriculum for self-empowerment. And then this is the video course that I was telling you about, which you can see a video preview. And then if we click on here, you can see the leadership courses. So this is leadership, building self-empowered teams. Here's the one, finding the 25th hour, the one I was telling you about. This is what it looks like. Talks about, and then if you go down here, it says it's available for on-site delivery or a video format. So this is just a little bit about, and oh yeah, and by the way, I have a blog here if you want to see my blog. The last post I put up here was about what I called the Zoom effect. So you might get a kick out of that because we're going through that right now. And then this is my Facebook page. And I also have let me just go to my Champions for Success page. And this is my Champions for Success page. And I have a lot of different things on here. Come on, Champions for Success. There we go. And I have a lot of different business related types of posts here. Here's one on managing change. And this tells a little bit more about my company. Here's the this is the YouTube video that I was telling you about. You can find this on YouTube. And then this is my LinkedIn page. You want to find me on LinkedIn. And then of course I'm on Instagram. We're all on Instagram. You can find me there. Here I am. This is me on Instagram. And here I am on Twitter, or X now.
X now, yes.
X, yeah. So that's basically my social media, but I'm out there.
Yes, yes.
Definitely out there.
One
yes.
more question before we go. What is your favorite speech and who's your favorite speaker from all time?
Wow. I have to say my favorite speaker, I don't have a particularly favorite speech, but I love Lou Holtz. I'm not a sports fan, believe me, I'm not a sports fan, but Lou Holtz has been, as a motivational speaker, he's been one of my favorite speakers of all time. I had the honor of seeing him in person years ago. But there's just something about him. He just inspires me to want to be a good speaker, because one of the things he always said was that as a leader, your people need to know that you care about them and that you know what you're talking about, that you're and you're willing to be there with them. And for me, that's one of the things that really hit home for me. And he's a powerful speaker. He's humorous. He makes me laugh. He tells really great stories. And he just inspires me.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing. Thank you for joining me. It's been an honor, pleasure talking to you and hear your amazing story. Thank you so much.
All right. And thank you.
Likewise.
It's a pleasure. Before
we go, make sure you go to YouTube, DIOTALK TV, and follow me, like and subscribe. Go to Instagram, Mr. Dreams Power. I'm out, guys. Have a good night.